Hello and welcome to everybody. I'm Mark Modner, and together with my colleague Colin Bell, we're going to be taking you through this webinar today. So thank you very much for your time and for joining us. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Thanks, Sam. I think I just got the message that you can hear now. Yeah, we just started. So thanks. At least I've now confirmed that my sound is working okay, which is always a relief. Just starting from the beginning, really, is really why we're here today. Not intending that to be any kind of existential question, but just would really appreciate it if there's a chat facility that's available, which Sam you've just kindly used, and also a Q&A. But I just wondered through the chat facility if you might just give a few comments, a few bullets as to what you're looking for from today. Hopefully, Colin and I will have a lot of the points that you're looking to cover included, but if not, we'll obviously look to include those. So if I'll just give you a moment. As I say, the chat facility should be easily accessible through the application. As I say, just information about what you're hoping to gain from the webinar. Okay, I'll keep an eye open for them. I guess either folks are getting sort of familiar with the controls, or perhaps a little shy at the beginning. So, but please do share any thoughts. We'll pick those up in a moment. Thanks, Sam. Okay, so yeah, just looking for some hints and tips. We'll certainly do that. We're intending to make today's session very practical. Claire, welcome. So yeah, what the new normal look like for service-based businesses. So we're certainly, it's very hard to predict exactly what the future is going to look like, but we have included a number of insights of things that are happening, or perhaps just over the horizon that may well impact service-based businesses, and covering a range of different areas, from operations to working with customers, developing your offer, and so on. So hopefully we'll cover that, but certainly happy to take any questions or to cover other aspects later on. Richard, thank you. Welcome. Yeah, we've certainly got some examples of what other businesses are doing to stimulate thinking. Catherine, yes, at the moment, hello is the screen, but obviously we have got other slides, so we'll move that on. Helen, thanks for the comment. Yeah, in terms of marketing service, architectural services, again, it's the approach we're taking is quite general, but we think what we're going to cover is we'll have some universal use. So thank you for that, and hopefully we can help there too. Retaining and growing client base in the current market, yeah, clearly very challenging. Thanks, Alison. But yeah, we'll be looking to cover that as well. Okay, do keep them coming. We'll keep an eye open on comments, questions, and what have you. The purpose of today is very much to consider some of the immediate as well as the longer term changes that we think will present. Clearly it's going to present challenges, and I can't think there'll be too many businesses that haven't had to face either difficulties or in fact in some cases obviously big opportunities through this difficult period. So we'll look to, but there's obviously there's the immediate, and then there's looking forward to the recovery phase. What we're looking to do is to provide some practical tools and techniques that you can use to think about how you can introduce changes to your business, and particularly how digital technology may be able to help. One thing that's clear is that digital technology doesn't stand alone. It's part of your operations, and clearly we can't ignore that. And as in terms of looking at different elements and activities within your organisation. Today is intended to be interactive, so we're very much looking to sort of get you involved as we've started. Very keen to hear about your experiences. and so on. And to that end, what I'll do is to unmute everybody, or unmute so you're able to speak. What I would ask you to do is just to keep yourselves muted. Put your hand up if you do want to come and ask a question. We'll keep an eye open for written comments if you prefer that as well. And we're able to answer everything and engage in conversation as we go through. So that's enough from me for now. I'm going to come back in later on. So without further ado, please let me hand you over to my colleague, Colin Bell, who's going to take us into the start of the webinar. Over to you, Colin.
Hi, thanks, Mark, and welcome to everyone. Absolutely delighted to be here today and have the opportunity to deliver this webinar. Just as Mark said, what we want to do is hopefully run through some of the trends and things that are happening at the moment to help us think about what that new normal may look like in that new environment. How we're going to generate revenue and new customers and service existing customers, and whilst building more resilience into our business model. So we're going to talk through some of those kind of, I suppose, trends that are happening at the moment, how businesses are adapting to those. So we're going to build up to a bit of a framework that will hopefully help you think about how you can implement change within your businesses, and then hopefully we'll send you away with some practical tools and techniques that you can use to move things forward. So let's get into the details. So how will things change, and what does it mean to you and your business? Well, the first thing is I'll look for the slides to move on. The first thing is, if we think about the current situation, for most of us, we're being impacted with fundamental change. We're in a lockdown situation, and I think that actually what that's done, it's actually to a certain extent simplified life. It's almost helped us kind of strip things back and made it a bit more obvious what we really value, what we miss, what we don't miss, what makes us happy, and what makes us potentially unhappy as well. So that kind of process of just simplifying things for a lot of people have really made them reevaluate actually the choices that they'll potentially make moving forward. So as we return to that new normal, as restrictions are lifted, and as we start to make more decisions about what we may want to purchase, fundamentally what people value will have changed. I suppose the key question for ourselves is actually, do we think that customers will value our products more or less? Do we think that they'll kind of place a different value on that product moving forward? So, I suppose to a certain extent, we're asking the question: to what extent have we been missed? Have we really been missed? And as a result, how are we going to change and adapt to make sure that we get customers moving forward? So I'll say these are just some general trends that I'm going to flow through at the moment, but hopefully they just help to set the scene on what lies ahead. The second one is, we're all movie stars now. I'm sure we have all been in conversations where people have said, this is like a film. What we're going through at the moment is very, very movie-like. It's the sort of things that we're used to actually seeing them coming out of Hollywood. I think when you think about the floods that we've had in the UK throughout the year, the Australian wildfires, previous pandemics like SARS, etc., I think we're all coming to terms with actually things like this can happen, things like this do happen, and things like this are probably going to happen in the future. So actually, how do we deal with that? How do we build resilience into our businesses moving forward, so that we can withstand situations such as this as they move forward? With that comes threats as well as opportunities as well, which we need to think about. So just moving to the next slide. So another thing, again, I'm pretty sure that most of you in your businesses handle cash. Cash transactions were already being outstripped by cashless transactions or digital transactions prior to the COVID pandemic hitting. But what commentators are suggesting is that actually the current situation is going to accelerate the death of cash. Cash isn't something that we can deal with at the moment. Most businesses who are accepting payment aren't accepting cash as a payment. So actually, is this going to be the death of cash? And in our businesses, how do we deal with that? If we're accepting cash, if we've accepted cash before the pandemic, actually, how are we going to deal with that moving forward? Another big trend, and I think this is something that's really going to accelerate and really affect the way supply and globalization works, is that because of COVID, because of the need to have really robust and resilient supply chains in place, that we believe that there's going to be an increased localization in terms of supply. Organizations who currently rely on global just-in-time type of supply chain operations are really questioning the resilience of that. Is it something that they can rely on moving forward? I know things like the Japanese tsunami, had a real impact on global supply and started to raise some of these questions. And I think that's just been accelerated through the current situation. And actually, we're seeing in terms of politics, we're seeing politics that's becoming more parochial and focus much more on the supply of goods and services domestically and from indigenous organisations. So we believe that one of the things that we're going to see really as a catalyst of the current situation is more content being supplied locally, and obviously that's going to build. I suppose present opportunities to local suppliers, but equally, if you're an organisation at the moment who's actually trading globally, it's going to have implications there as well. So how are you going to change your business model to effectively deliver goods and services to the global marketplace? Will you need to have physical locations in different countries to do that effectively to cope with those changes? So again, that's one of the fundamental shifts that we believe is happening at the moment. So we're just going to ask a quick poll. As Mark mentioned, we're going to have several polls as we move through this. It's an opportunity just to hopefully help you think about some of these trends, how it's going to affect your business, and just for us to pause periodically, just to allow you to ask questions as well. So we're just going to launch a quick poll now, and we're going to ask you to consider how will these changes in supply chain sourcing affect you and your business. So you'll see various questions on your screen at the moment. So if you just vote, pick what you think's going to apply to your business, and then we'll just take a quick look at the results.
Colin, I've just unmuted briefly just to let you know with sort of using some of the controls here, it does seem to be flicking your slides forward. So just to let folks know that obviously we're not being trigger happy here. It's just getting used to this. So so yeah, don't worry if you get the odd slide that goes forward a little.
Okay, some interesting results coming through there.
Yeah, I'll end the poll and share the results.
Yeah, so I suppose we've got quite a positive result there. That most of you are already I suppose getting all your supplies from the UK anyway. So hopefully there'll be a minimal impact there. I suppose there is a question, however, it's where are the companies or organisations where you're getting your supply from, where are they being supplied? Are they actually bringing goods and services in from overseas? And it's worth just thinking that through. think probably from two perspectives: the current situation, but also, you know, dare I say it, I believe we've still got EU exit coming over the horizon as well. So supply chain is an interesting subject from that point of view as well. So, you know, where are your suppliers getting their supplies from? Because that could equally have a knock-on impact. Yeah, but people looking to actually source more locally, and actually, you know, it's not affecting a good proportion of businesses as well. So that looks, you know, relatively healthy, and some really interesting results there. At this stage, has anyone got any questions? Have we got any questions coming through there, Mark?
Yeah, there's a few actually. So thanks for your comments. So okay. Oh, okay. It wasn't an option for me in the poll. As even if I order from suppliers from UK, the actual manufacturing of tech equipment is sourced originally made in the East. That was from Sal. So I think it was more of a comment really. And also Claire has mentioned that that they can't get the goods from the UK. Natural rock salt is mined from the natural salt mines in Austria. So yeah, obviously in those situations, you know, it doesn't sound like there's a huge amount of choice, at least at this well, at this moment. Something like obviously the salt, you know, clearly that's only coming from that one place if it's the particular salt you use.
Yeah. And I think, Sal, though, that your question or your observation there is almost what I was talking about. Actually, it's almost of equal importance to consider where your suppliers get their supplies from, and because you know, again, that's all part of the, you know, the way we're going to have to deal with supply chains moving forward. Okay,
I'll stop
great. So
we'll back to you.
Yeah, so we'll move on. So the next one is actually what we've, sorry, being trigger happy there again. With the next one is actually when physical and digital realities collide. What we're seeing as organisations have to operate in different ways, we're seeing a gradual reduction of what we call physical touch points in customer journeys, and quite often they're being replaced by digital touch points. So we're seeing very different operational models starting to evolve, and actually they've evolved almost overnight. I mean, the pace of change and the rapid adoption of digital technology has been nothing short than incredible. I think what would normally take, you know, maybe 2 years to achieve in terms of, you know, the kind of the trends we're seeing around video conferencing and webinars and things, you know, have been achieved in, you know, less than a month. So it is really, really incredible. I'm not going to dwell on these things because you'll you know, there'll be things that are really obvious to you. But obviously, one of the big trends is that people become home workers. Again, that's happened really, really quickly. I think it's worked, you know, better for some people than not. In general, companies who are already on the cloud, so using a cloud-based infrastructure and selling online, have found that transition a lot easier. If people weren't on the cloud and weren't selling online, it's been a much more difficult transition. And actually, quite often we find that companies are still making that transition to adopt to kind of change their business model, which is partly what we're here to support. So that's one of the things that we're seeing. But I think people have almost been quite surprised in how digital technology has actually enabled them to operate. Things that they thought had to be delivered physically, you know, meetings that they would have previously had that they thought had to be delivered physically, actually have been delivered virtually and to really, really good effect. So, you know, I think that's one thing that we've really seen. And actually, if you think about that in your business, it does open up opportunities. If actually accessing skills and capabilities has been a challenge for you, actually, you can probably start to think about accessing skills from a much wider skills pool into the future. You know, is where someone's actually physically located as much of an issue for your business as it was. So that's kind of one of the first things. The next thing is around social distancing. So most of you will be finding that if you are operating or if you're preparing to operate your business, you're probably going to have to think about adopting technology or different working practices to adhere with social distancing rules. So we expect, particularly in things like manufacturing, there'll be an acceleration of artificial intelligence, the adoption of robotics. You can now, it's now perfectly feasible, for instance, to 3D print a house, but using a robot. That doesn't require social distancing. It's a much more resilient model, etc. So we're seeing that some of these things that have been held back will probably move forward at an increased pace. And the other thing is, just using digital technology to vastly reduce the customer touch points that are within your business model, which can now be facilitated digitally, etc. So that's another one. This really plays into the end of the office. I think a lot of the businesses I'm talking to at the moment are really questioning the value of an office. I think that they recognise they need a physical space to convene their people together, to develop ideas, to get creative, to build relationships and all those sort of things. But do they require people to work side by side, day by day? They're questioning the expense of the office, the business rates, that kind of overhead it creates. I think employees as well are questioning the amount of time they sit in traffic and the expense of travel and all these sort of things. And actually, to a certain extent, perhaps recognising that some of the freedoms that have come with home working are something that they want to retain as well. So I think, again, there's some big trends that we're seeing there. But a lot of businesses, I say, are telling me they will not, when the lease on their current office ends, they won't be renewing it, and they'll be looking at alternative space. The next trend is we'll just have a quick poll on remote working. So excuse me. Sorry, Mark. So we're just going to launch another poll, which is actually, what are your views on remote working? Again, just take some time to look at the questions, vote on the ones that you think apply to you, and then we'll have a look at the results. Great.
Okay, I think everybody's
really interesting result.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think everybody's. I think most people have come back now, so I'll close the poll, and let's share the results. Thank you.
Yeah, so it sounds like most people, you're going to have to change in the meantime, almost until within your current premises or infrastructure, and continue operating whilst we almost move through lockdown. So it sounds like many people are actually planning to, I suppose, move back to their premises, and over time, kind of to a certain extent move back to normal. But then there's varying degrees there. So that's some really interesting insights there. A couple of people are going to radically shift the other way to 100% remote working. Which again, is really interesting. So a whole variety of different approaches there. Great, that's really interesting.
Just have one comment back from Sal, Colin, that she can't respond to. They can't respond to this to the questions. They need another option, so we might need a catch-all, I think, to add to the to these. But I'm not
right. Okay.
I don't know if you're able to share what your option would be, Sal. We'll pick that up in a moment. But
yeah, that'll be great if you could do, and we can come back to that. The next one just want to touch on is the rise of the big small business. So this is actually quite a difficult one to talk about actually, because the reality is that we're about to enter one of the biggest downturns in modern history. Over this quarter, we're anticipating a 35% drop in GDP, 14% drop over the year as a whole, but projecting just short of a 10% unemployment rate, which will land differently in different locations of the UK. So the north in general, maybe be a couple of percentage points up from that. So there's going to be vast amounts of change, and unfortunately, I think there'll be consolidation in markets. There'll be businesses who have to significantly downscale. Some won't survive. However, like with most things, there's winners and losers. So those businesses who can actually ride the storm, hopefully retain a good working capital position, but by no means suggesting that that's easy, absolutely, but far from it. And, even those who can retain some sort of fighting fund. So actually, when we come out of this, can we retain a fighting fund that allows us to invest and hit markets hard? When we come out of this, spot those niches, those areas where we think represent growth for our business. Those businesses will do quite well, and that's generally a trend that we see on the back of recession. So, maybe you got a £1-2 million business at the moment. Typically they'll maybe become 20 or even 50 million on the back of this. Really important that we spot those companies that you're thinking about. Actually, well, can we get ourselves into that position? Where are those niches that we can hit hard coming out of this? And almost thinking, how can you get yourself in that position to really grow on the back of this and become one of the big businesses tomorrow, the wealth creators and the job creators of the future. That's what the economy is going to require, businesses to grow us out of this situation. In doing so, however, must say that it's not going to be a straight line to the future, as I think the Prime Minister indicated just over a week ago. We will maybe move forward, but then have to take some steps back. So it's not going to be a straight line. There's going to be lots of twists and turns along the way. Even though we're trying to anticipate what the future holds, no one actually really knows. And a lot of commentators again will say that social distancing, dealing with the current situation, is going to be with us until a vaccine or a wonder drug is found, should it ever be. So this is something that we've got to live with, and we're just going to have to try things, which really builds onto the next point, because if you think about the way I suppose we're educated, the way we try and run our businesses, we develop a plan quite often. We figure out what markets that plan's going to be targeted on. So if it's an idea for a new product and service, who do we think that going to demand that, and then we implement the plan. Chances are we're not going to have the time and the space to do that moving forward. So I think we're going to have to take a much more of a fire ready approach moving forward, where actually we're firing first. We're adjusting our approach, taking a very agile approach to the implementation of plans or the launch of new products and services. We're just going to have to try stuff and see if it works or not. If it doesn't work, then we're going to have to adjust really quickly and try something else. It's almost a fire ready aim approach that we're going to have to adopt moving forward. So just thinking about all those trends that we've just been through, which ones do you think are going to affect your business? So we're just going to have another quick poll. So which of those trends do you think is going to affect your business? So Mark's just going to launch a poll for us, and we'll have a look at the results.
It should be up there now, Colin.
Yeah, great, thanks. So here we go. The results are starting to come through.
Some interesting feedback there.
Mm.
Okay, I think most people have responded. So should I close the poll off and share the results?
Yeah. So, and obviously, you know, with these results, there tends to be a relationship. But what we're seeing is the kind of biggest influence there is a reduction in physical touch points. You know, hopefully this webinar will you know strongly focus on that area, because it's fundamentally around actually how do we use digital technology to underpin our business models and reduce physical touch points. But you know, granted that there's probably a really strong relationship with the second area there, that's around actually how do we respond to customer needs and wants, how do we build more resilience into business models, how do we adopt a more agile approach, which are really some of the other areas. And I think, you know, in digital technology and that reduction of physical touch points is actually an enabler of all those. I think the other thing about the results, you know, really indicates just where the weightings landed. That, you know, change is a theme. You know, the way that your businesses operate, the way you move forward is going to be very different to the past. So again, we'll come back to that, and actually what tools and methodologies can we use in our companies to implement and accelerate that change. Great.
Okay, back to you, Colin. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, have we had any questions there?
No, nothing at
okay,
this point.
well, so what we're going to move on to now. So we talked about some of the trends on the back of COVID. What are some of those things that are happening out there in the environment, the political, environmental, in the social environment, etc., that are changing the landscape for our businesses. Now, what we're going to look at is a model that will hopefully help you think about actually how you change and revive and thrive your business as a result. Couple of things before we get into the meat of the model, as it were. The first thing I would say, and I think this almost goes without saying, is that in the current situation, what's of prime importance is getting your business in a position where you can generate revenue, where you can get customers, where you can access customers and actually sell a product, service, or solution to them. So fundamentally, that's what we're aiming to do, and how are you going to go about doing that? I think another thing, it doesn't seem to be a critical issue in terms of a supply chain point of view to the group on the webinar today, but particularly with companies who are in supply chains, they're going to be increasingly pressured with actually increasing flexibility, increasing adaptation, delivery standards, etc., whilst vastly reducing costs. You know, that's something, if we're going to have localized supply chains, is going to be something that's required. But I think this applies for any business. You know, how can you generate revenue whilst reducing your cost so that you can generate higher levels of working capital within your business? We're classically in what we term a cash crunch at the moment. So cash is king, and actually, how can we make sure that we're maximising profits and working capital in businesses? And again, how can digital technology be part of the solution to that? And this is the conundrum actually that we're all facing then. So actually, how do we reduce cost whilst increasing flexibility? within our businesses. And for those of you who've been to business school and kind of read the textbooks, this is classically something that academics historically would have said isn't in fact possible. But luckily, with the effective adoption of digital technology, it is possible. And that type of low cost, highly flexible business model is also something that's very scalable as well. So what we're going to focus on now is the Centre of Digital Technology Adoption's Digital Transformation Framework. So this is a framework that's been developed on the back of rigorous research into how some of the world's, in fact, the world's most effective organisations and most scalable organisations operate. How do they adopt technology to underpin their business models and put them in a position to deliver value to their customers? So that value is really, really critical to this, because what those organisations do is they align everything they do to the delivery of value to their customers. They question everything. If there's things that they've done in the past that aren't delivering value, then they've stripped them out. They don't want to carry any unnecessary cost or have the energy of their staff or processes going into things that aren't ultimately going to deliver value. So right at the centre of this is value creation. Then got value drivers, what's going to drive value through the organisation. How you're going to capture value, which is something that we'll talk about soon. How you're actually going to deliver value to your customers, and how you're going to protect it. So that's an overview of the model that we're just about to walk through. So, and again, we'll have several polls as we wander through this model. So first thing is value drivers. Currently, there's several questions that we need to ask ourselves. Number one is how we're going to lead people through rapid change and disruption. How are you going to lead people through rapid change and disruption when they're not in the office next to you, when they're potentially working at home? This also includes partners, suppliers. How are we going to align people to the plan and lead them moving forward? Another couple of points here. So the next one is how we're going to protect employee welfare and mental health. And actually, let's face it, it's not just the mental health and welfare of employees. We've got to think of ourselves as business owners as well in that camp as well. Who do we talk to? Who do we share our experiences and anxieties with? It's a difficult time for everyone at the moment. And it's affecting everyone to varying degrees. So, how do we protect welfare and mental health? And again, how can technology help us with that? And we'll go into examples of how people are doing that. In terms of your forward strategy, how are you going to develop that for the next 6 months? And I've almost classed the next 6 months as the restart phase. As restrictions are lifted, as we move to the new normal, actually, how are you going to facilitate that planning session? How are you going to engage people remotely and actually facilitate that session in a way that everyone feels connected, energized, and I suppose focused on delivering. And then that links to the final point. That's how you're going to engage with and communicate with employees and partners. So some key questions there. So just thinking about those value drivers, which are you currently thinking about? What's kind of demanding most attention from you at the moment? And that could be from a point of view that you're actively implementing that, but also, it's of concern or something you recognise you need to work on. So if you could just complete the poll quickly, that would be great. Great, some really, really interesting results coming through there.
Okay, I think everybody's has voted. I'll close the poll and share the results.
I think there's a couple of chat points coming through there as well, Mark. So I'll look at those if you look at the chats.
Sure.
Yeah, so the overarching one, and again, there's interrelationships between all these different points, but the strategic plan over the next 6 months seems to be the driving point there. So what are people going to have to do? How are they going to, the kind of secondary things there, how are they actually going to lead people to the achievement of that plan and the change that we're going through? Really, good recognition around how this is affecting people and employees and their welfare and mental health. I think that's a great concern to us all, and linked to that, really good communication as well. So, yeah, thanks for that. Some great, some really interesting results there. So,
Colin,
on
the feedback. Yeah, that's okay. So one was just Sal had to leave, so just quite a nice long message in terms of just sort of found it pretty useful so far. So nothing really particularly to add there, but he had a Zoom meeting with the client at 1:45.
Okay.
But Catherine's asked, just a question about managing and supporting older people, particularly those nearing retirement.
Right. And Catherine, are they older people who are they remote working at the moment, or are they?
Let's see if I can unmute. I had some problems with that before. Let me see if I can.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah, if you're happy just to talk it through, Catherine, that would be great.
I think in a second. Let me just, okay. Yeah, if you unmute yourself, Catherine, you should be able to, hopefully be able to speak now. I'll unmute everybody else while Catherine's, in fact.
Hi, Catherine. So sorry, I'm conscious we're pressuring you into this one.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Catherine. Hi,
okay,
lovely to speak to you.
Sorry, it was just thinking about staff that haven't had to really deal with IT and ICT in the past in their job, and as things change, trying to upskill and train people, and I'm particularly thinking about, as I say, older people nearing retirement. And I don't mean to be, to say that older people can't learn new skills, but there is that, motivational factor where we might have key members of staff that are thinking, well, I've only got 2 years to go. I don't really want to learn all this new stuff right now. So that's just a concern and an issue for me, just in the real being realistic about it, how successful we're going to be in terms of changing the way that we work and do things, and how we motivate people to manage that change.
Yeah, and I think that leads on to a wider issue around digital skills more generally as well, because unfortunately people have digital skills as everything becomes much more digital, and maybe the current situation is going to accelerate that. Just in the way people live their lives, it'll probably become a bit more difficult. Transactions are going to be digital. There's going to be more sold online and through digital means. So one thing, and again, there is an element that if people fundamentally don't want to do it, then it's difficult to make them. But it's maybe trying to demonstrate to them, actually, well, over the next couple of years, maybe take the opportunity to develop your skills, because it's potentially something you're going to need moving forward, but beyond this, just to live out your retirement to a certain extent. One of the things, and I'll just move forward a slide actually, because one of the things I've actually been quite impressed with is, as part of the response to COVID, the government have launched the Skills Toolkit, which is just up on your screen now, and that's access to again, it's online. So the first challenge is actually how do you get people to engage in online learning, but but there's actually some really good online courses that are available for people around a whole range of different subjects. But there's some really good content and courses on the development of basic digital skills. So there is something there, and just something I'm kind of talking on behalf of Mark here as well. And he can't kick me underneath the table, so I'm gonna go for it. But through the Digital Catalyst program that's delivered through the Humber Business Growth Hub, I'm just wondering, Mark, if there's something that you could do there. If there were kind of older workers across different companies, is there something you could do to actually maybe bring them together and facilitate a bit of that learning, and to provide a bit of coaching and someone who could actually guide them through it? Just a thought that
I think
I'm
so.
sure it'll be something that's experienced across businesses. Well, we know it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and I think these sort of so maybe bite-sized chunks of this sort of session at this point would be really interesting. But actually, structuring something that's almost more of a sort of training course would be really interesting. I think really useful. It is difficult. I think, as you implied, Catherine, it's difficult to generalise with these things, because when we've researched this area, there's there's one of the main barriers is the sort of fear of technology and demystifying it. Although it's become a lot more user friendly. Remember the days where you had a new laptop, it would take you hours to set the thing up, whereas now it's pretty much plug and play, as an example, or a tablet or whatever. It is a lot easier, and I think it's almost become it's almost non-optional now, because it's almost very hard to think of any businesses that are not at least to some extent digital, and I guess it's part of the job, to learn that, as much as it would be to if you're in a particular industry, in construction or what have you, understanding how to how to undertake particular construction tasks. I think it's almost, it comes with the territory, I think. So, but yeah, I think it's a really good idea, Colin, and something we'll look to explore with the council and the Growth Hub.
Okay. So, Catherine, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a kind of general statement, really. I don't.
Okay.
I think the thing that is difficult is when you're a small business. Running a small business, you kind of wear all the hats, and having to now think about training and supporting staff with digital skills is just another. My heart sinks, because it's not my skill set, and I don't know where to start, and I don't even know what we need. So if it's going to be difficult for me, I know it's going to be even more difficult for my staff.
Yeah, but well, hopefully there's some resource that can come in and help you there. Actually, address that challenge in your business through the Digital Catalyst program.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, just a couple of very quick points here. We've seen increased adoption of technology, the adoption of existing apps that people are adopting in their business. So one up on your screen now called Toggle. That one of the challenges we're finding employees have working from home. It's kind of focus, making sure that they're spending time doing the right things, that are delivering value to customers, and also for management just have visibility over that. So this tool, Toggle, for instance, is something that's really simple, and it just allows managers and employees to understand what they're spending their time doing. Led to a whole range of different improvements in companies. So one business we're working with, they've adopted a whole new approach to email, making sure that people categorize email, set rules to different email, which is a bit of an art form in itself, to be honest. But it's just, how do we take the noise out of the inbox to make sure that people are identifying what needs to be action and what's a priority, really, and not, because people could almost just spend all day servicing email. So that's a tool that we've found been really useful for people. We've talked about the skills toolkit. Lots of apps out there at the moment that businesses are using to to help deal with mental health and welfare issues. I don't think any are a panacea or kind of silver bullet on their own, and don't replace the contacts of a manager or professional support. But combined, they all help. My personal favourite's the Chill Panda there, which is all about kind of breathing and mindfulness. But do a session with that up, and you come off feeling a bit sleepy actually, and very, very relaxed. So so some of those things that could really help in that regard. And then I'm not going to dwell on this one, but we're all much more accustomed to video conferencing now. So I'm going to hand you over to Mark now, who's going to run through the value creation side of things and the rest of the model, and then I'll join you a bit later again.
That's
over
great.
to you, Mark.
Thanks very much, Colin. So yeah, just a couple of other points that came up just now. Patrick, thanks for your feedback in terms of the 6-month strategic plan. It's important as long as we can take people with us. Yeah, absolutely. It's a balancing act. Clearly, as that where we talked about agility earlier, it's going to be important. And it's offset, but sort of and perhaps almost hackneyed. But your staff are. And your people are your most important asset, arguably, apart from customers, maybe. Yeah, it's bringing them with you is absolutely key. So no, thanks for your input on that. I can see obviously that Felicity Carney offered Catherine some input. You've obviously been through the same situation in terms of with your team and so on. So that's brilliant. So yeah, we can obviously help to put you together in terms of contact details if you so wish. So just going to look at the next element of the model, the value creation part. So this is really your offer really, and what is your product and service. So and particularly in relation to the current situation. So will the COVID situation make customers value your existing offering more or less? So it is a key consideration. Are there other opportunities out there in terms of customer groups and markets that you could target? Do you need to make any changes to product and service? What are those things that are going to be needed to partly to sort of get through the current situation, but also looking forward with a little bit of foresight. What is going to be needed down a little bit further down the line. How you continue to deliver a great customer experience. Of course, it's very challenging at the moment, and I think we're probably all seeing examples of both. Certainly, without naming the retailer's name, had experience recently sending a gift for my niece's birthday, which hasn't turned up, and then you look for ways to try and contact what is a fairly large company, and it's almost impossible unless you're prepared to spend sort of several hours on the phone. So those are not great, and those are things that even I think there's an element of patience and understanding that we have at the moment, but those are the sort of things that will stick with you, and those that can continue to offer a reasonable customer experience at least will be remembered. And then obviously how you can use digital technology to adopt products and services. So clearly digital technology is what we're talking about here. But Colin and I have run businesses, and clearly we know there's more to there's other aspects that you need to consider, and it's how the technology can be immersed within that. So just another very quick poll. Just sort of showing the results of that. So is to really to in terms of your own value creators, which value creators are currently giving greatest attention to? So particularly in the current situation. Really interested to know where you're spending your giving your greatest attention to. So I'll just leave that up there for a few moments to respond to. You know, some interesting responses coming in. Thank you. Okay, I think we've had quite a few responses. So let me close the poll and share the results with you. So the one coming out top is the most popular choice: how digital technologies can be harnessed to adapt products and services. So we've certainly got some interesting examples of that. That's followed by finding new customer groups and markets. That's going to be essential as we move forward. A good number of people are sharing other things, finding new imminent changes needs to ensure the offer remains competitive and so on. And delivering a great experience. I guess others may have been a little bit too vague, so which is possibly why people haven't responded to that. So thank you for the response. We've got a few comments coming back. Okay, thanks, Colin. Yeah, how to get to the people we need to promote our products and services to. So, I mean, clearly that's going to vary depending on you know, your offering, Catherine, and the market that you're operating within. So part of the support we offer, these are obviously these events are very much an overview and to generate sort of some stimulate thinking and ideas and give a general view, but we do have able to offer one-to-one support as well. With we have a variety of digital technology specialists, ranging from those that, you know, that are quite generalists, have a really good overview, to specialists around things like security and marketing and so on. So we can certainly help you with looking at particular circumstances. Yeah, I think the B2B support is mostly the support that's available, so it certainly applies to that. Paul, thank you. Yeah, products and services digital anyway, so it doesn't really affect you. Yeah, that's probably a fair comment. Okay, I'll stop sharing those, and then I just want to share a few interesting examples, really, of where just go through. Okay, so this is the reason for these, by the way, is just to get is really to sort of get you thinking in terms of what's you know, and how some of these examples might apply to your business. This is a really interesting one. Kidadle, organisation that is essentially an online platform discovering and booking family events and experience. Of course, with the community of parents going into lockdown, the companies had to find new ways of providing a service quickly. And they've done that by pivoting to become an online destination for ideas and inspiration for stay-at-home fun and learning. Really good site. The homepage was launched for the lockdown, and it can now list, I believe, over 1,500 free activities and resources to make family life in lockdown a little easier. And in fact, the bulk of their time now has moved away from you know, it's fairly heavily sales and marketing activity to content production and output, and it's really worked for them. You know, the visits to the site are seeing an increase of some 500% from a pretty good baseline to start with, yeah, there's also tracking across social media. With Kidadle's handy lockdown timetables, things like virtual Easter egg hunts they've run, but also daily guides to online classes, which are apparently reaching over 120,000 20,000 businesses. So quite an inspiring example. Another is around we've called EduTech Explosion. So this is where you know, we've new problems needing new solutions. Really, we've many of us are now sort of part-time home teachers trying to help our kids through the through the lockdown period. And these sites are, you know, these resources that have evolved are really powerful and really useful in terms of responding to those areas. Another one I really like is the 19 Crimes Wines, where augmented reality allows you to use your mobile phone to find out more information about individual crimes from the past, which adds something to to the experience of buying the wine. So it's things like this, and this sort of technology, although it seems very advanced, is it's actually easier to implement than you might think. So it just there's different ways that potentially you can change and enhance the experience, delivering physical goods, for example, but using digital technology alongside it. I think we've just had a few comments come through. Okay, Colin, are you picking those up for me? Thanks very much. Okay, if there's anything, do interrupt me if there's anything that we should should cover. Okay. If I could just ask you, if anybody, we've sort of allowed everybody to speak, but if you wouldn't mind just muting your headphones, that'd be really appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so then in terms of the model, then we want to sort of a look at value capture. So this is about how are you going to identify new customers? It's an area that sort of has come up quite a few times in the campaign as a main in the polls as a main issue for folks. So some of the key questions here include how do you develop and deliver campaigns? Of course, and particularly at the moment, the sensitivities, around marketing and so on. Explore new ways of accessing new customers, but also finding ways to retain new customers through the crisis. Again, a point that came up quite heavily through the poll responses you kindly provide us with. And then also looking at identifying new customer groups who may now demand products and services. So I'm going to just raise another quick poll, which you should see now. So again, just interested to hear about your experiences with the value capture element. So, are you looking at refining your sales and marketing? Is it key to identify new ways to find new customers, retaining clients, etc.? So just give you a few moments to respond to those. Okay, I think nearly everybody has voted. Thank you. Okay, so I'm closing the poll off and I'll share the results. Quite an even spread. As I say, clearly we're going to need to be more specific about the other areas, but yeah, I mean, although new customer groups require your existing products and services, that comes out quite high. But there's a really good spread around the other areas as well. Refining your activities, but also finding new ways to find customers and then retaining new clients. Okay, so and in terms of examples of this, we've identified a few that we think you'll find interesting. Firm in Codsall in the West Midlands have developed pottery painting classes, and to respond to the current situation, they've been busy assembling paint at home kits, which are now available by phone order, Facebook messages, and so on. A really great way to keep the family occupied during this sort of lockdown period, and it's very easy to easy to order. They'll deliver locally to Codsall, although I suspect those attending will be a little too far away for that free delivery. But yeah, or for the direct delivery. But certainly other ways to order those. And yeah, at this point, when people are potentially there is the
Has he finished?
hello. Oh, Colin, do you mind just having a quick look at the? I think somebody might have. Let me just mute. Might be John, I think. Yeah. So painting can be very relaxing and calming during the sort of potential periods of anxiety. And there's a real opportunity to do some good, but also you know, to help promote their offering. Another one is around the Club Vino tasting online. This is very much an activity that you know, gets group of people together to share wines and to give their views and so on, and you know, become very popular over the years. So the owner or the founder of this, Marco Castellanelli, which does sound like my surname, very Italian. He would run each of the events around a theme at prestigious hotels in the Northwest. Of course, the COVID-19 crisis hit this approach pretty hard, with you know, social gatherings stopped and closure of bars, restaurants, and so on. So the what they've started to do is to get requests from regular clients asking if they could supply wine and host the tastings via video link, and that's exactly what they've done. And customers can now order a home tasting package from the website, which includes things like themed cases of bottles, printable tasting notes, food pairing suggestions, video link that guides them through the wines, and so on. And it seems that they found a very sort of scalable business that complements sort of perfectly what they're doing physically, but will give them a much bigger range in terms of geographical area, whereas they were a little limited to sort of the Manchester and Chester areas. They can go much further afield, so it's worked really well for them. And last example, just around virtual design, virtual interior design. So this is a really simple idea where Barbara Kitnich, an interior designer with Fresh Approach Designs, simply put a message up on the website, on her homepage, and to encourage contact from individuals, and subsequently then walks you through the process of how you can work on improving your home virtually. And
because that wasn't on mute.
Yeah, sorry, is that sorry, let me just mute that for a second. Sorry, John, I think that's just came on mute just for a second. Yeah, so and it's worked really well. It wasn't something they were doing previously. It was very much a one-to-one personal service, but just doing something like this with the landing page of your website is very quick, very easy to do, and it allows you to speak to specific needs of customers at this time, without necessarily having to go through the time and expense of redesigning your whole website. Okay. So turning then to value delivery. So this is obviously operations and how you deliver your products and services to customers, and continue to try and provide effective customer service, but also operating within social distancing rules. So okay, I'm going to launch a poll, which again, just a few options this time. But which of these areas are you currently giving greatest attention to at the moment? Grateful for your views, please. I'll leave that up for a few moments. Okay, thanks for your responses there. I've had quite a few through. I'm going to close, just getting one or two more through. We're just going to close that off now and share the results. So perhaps not surprisingly, there's a good spread of results there. Using technology to deliver products and services to customers is clearly going to be important, and will vary depending on which sector and what your customers look like. But also, social distancing. Clearly, if you're meeting with and have customers coming to the office, or if you have a retail business, for example, clearly that's going to be essential to get that right. And then continue to provide effective customer service is essential. So thank you for that. So around value delivery, then a few examples that we've found that we like. Specsavers have been exploring remote alternatives to traditional in-person appointments, stores can only currently offer urgent and essential care to a fairly limited number of customers if it's really they really need to be seen straight away. So the new way of doing business that they're looking at is to allow customers to get advice and care from optometrists and audiologists via video and telephone link. This is starting to work quite effectively for them. It removes a number of barriers with health services, particularly already under pressure. And they've introduced areas such as Ask the Expert service on Facebook. And whilst in branches, frontline teams provide urgent and essential eye care to other key workers and people who could come to harm. So it's on top of the sort of social distancing measures that they put in, the provision of hand sanitizers, it's starting to transform, at least in the current period, the way that they operate. This is an example I think we've seen quite a lot of personal fitness being done remotely. And one that we is literally sort of hot off the press is a company called Bump that have used some existing technology and repurposed it to develop an offering for organisations to help with social distancing. And they've actually put out a short video. I can only share this on LinkedIn. I couldn't find it anywhere else, but let me see if I can just share this with you. Okay, so if I just going to share, hopefully everybody can see this okay and hear all right.
Hi Mark, Colin here. Nothing coming through.
Thanks, Colin. Right, not sure why that didn't come through okay, but well worth having a look at the video. And I think clever in the sense of the technology, of course, but also with the fact that it also overcomes some of those privacy issues that people are concerned about as well. The way that it's been done. So yeah, I'll leave that for now, because I don't think we're going to get to see and hear that. But as I say, it's available on LinkedIn, and the technology is called Bump. Okay, sorry you weren't able to see that. This is fairly similar technology, but linked to your phone. So other examples where perhaps in a slightly extreme example, our Flippy the burger flipping robot, which obviously can assist with some level of automation as well as the social distancing. So a slightly extreme example, but yeah, obviously there's different ways where you can introduce different digital touch points to the journey that your customers go through. And yeah, as I say, that's probably one of the more sort of unusual ones. Okay, so take us through to the final element of our model then. This is about value protection, and we always think of this in terms of digital technology as it relates to cybersecurity. Of course, that is essential, but it's also, you know, protecting the value of the business at this point. It includes, you know, looking after the finances and particularly working capital, which I'm confident is a big consideration for all business owners at the moment. But also things like managing the performance of remote teams and having things like staggered working times when we do start returning to offices, for example, and need to implement social distancing measures, and things like, you know, helping to protect employees from things like home scams and what have you. So clearly there's a actually, yeah, sorry, one final, I'll launch this one final poll on this, on value protection. So, yeah, so again, similar to the previous ones, just interested to get your feedback in terms of, you know, what value protection elements are you particularly concerned about for your business at the moment? Again, I'll leave this up for a few moments. Okay, again, that's a lot of responses, so I'll close the poll and share the results. Yeah, no real surprises there. Obviously, a couple of linked issues there: managing finances and keeping control of working capital. Clearly, for many, the measures implemented by the government around things like furloughing will undoubtedly have helped. Yeah, clearly that's a big consideration for everyone. Again, there's things like, and many of you may have already implemented this, but there's applications such as, you know, online accounting, which give you a huge amount more control instantly over your ability to manage finances, as well as, you know, saving time and resources. Equally important, they're managing remote teams. You know, it's going to be essential for us. There's a lot of technology and applications out there, and it's thinking about that now, but also going forward. You know, with what you know, we've turned, I think it's already been mentioned, the new normal. So again, just there's some great applications out there, and there's a lot of technology providers are providing special offers, you know, free periods or discounted periods to help businesses get through this period. Certainly, some of the ones we've put up there: Xero, Sage, Intuit, FreeAgent. You know, good financial management tools that really do help to control your finances. Then we have other technologies here that again work really well to manage projects, but also to simplify things like communication. So we've got Slack at the top left there, which is an alternative to email. We use it when we use ourselves. Really effective, and it just means takes some of the formality out. It makes communication easier and more regular. We've got the one below is it relates to Trello, fantastic project management tool, quite often used for developing digital products and software projects and so on. Really good way of sort of focusing attention and ensuring progress. And then we have Asana as well, which is another project management tool, and very good free versions of all of these. So you know, you can buy premium features, but they, you know, the base level are really good and worth exploring. And then of course fraud. So I wasn't going to labour the sort of point on this too much. We're running separate webinars specifically to look at this. But of course, during difficult periods like this, there's always there's often an opportunity for those that that do want to scam and look for other ways to obviously swindle and so on. So as I say, we do have webinars running on that, which will look at that in more detail. But clearly, with employees working at home and the greater use of applications like Microsoft Teams and various others, there's a need to be ever more vigilant, and of course the fraudsters get ever more ever more clever at doing what they do. Okay, thank you for your attention to that part of the presentation. I'm going to pass back to Colin now to take us through through some final slides and some different tools and techniques that hopefully you're going to be able to use within your businesses. Over to you, Colin.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Mark. In the spirit of time, I'm going to skip a couple of things here. So the slide that you got on your screen now is around digital maturity level. So it's essentially through the wider digital catalyst program. One of the things we do, we work with companies to almost review how technology is utilised within the business at the moment, and then to develop a plan forward. So actually, with what do we think the possibilities are? Linked to your strategy and where you want to do and the improvements and changes you want to implement. Actually, how do we think you can move forward, and what technologies are really going to underpin that? So that's a process we go through. I was going to ask a couple of polls around where are you on that continuum at the moment. We work right from quite a basic level to almost quite advanced level in terms of the way technology is adopted in businesses, so we can deal with any kind of situation across that continuum. So that's an offer. We can come in and carry out that review with the COVID-19 lens on, as it were. But really conscious of one of the things that we really aim to do at the back of these sessions is make sure that people go away hopefully with some tools and techniques that are simple to use, but all add value to your business and help you think about the changes that you need to make. So we're just going to look at some customer journey mapping tools and techniques that I'd say you can hopefully pick up and adopt within your business. First point, just trying to make here is that the way we've traditionally delivered our customer journeys has changed, and we're going to have to fundamentally change the way they work moving forward. So the old rules are dead, and we've got to replace them with a new tool book. So this slide here fundamentally illustrates the tool that I'm going to talk through, and it's just a way of mapping your customer journey and thinking about, in terms of your different types of customers, how can you help to reduce what we'll call physical touch points and all that stuff that's really difficult to deliver, but whilst conforming to social distancing rules and keeping customers safe and your employees safe. Actually, how do we reduce some of that and replace it with digital touch points? So so essentially the way this tool works, it walks through a customer journey right from awareness. Actually, how do you make customers existing and new aware of your products and services, albeit that some of those may be new products and services as well as you're pivoting your business and considering new ways of servicing either existing or new markets. So we walk through that right through to the point where hopefully customers are recognising the value of what you're delivering and repurchasing. There's almost a y-axis on this, where as we're moving through the journey, we're mapping actually how are customers becoming aware of us, and the y-axis, almost the further away from the centre line, the touch point, the more either physical or digital it is. So at the bottom of the model, we've got what we call physical touch points, and at the top we've got digital touch points. So we're just trying to map those as we move through the model. The other thing you'll notice is there's a key that talks about managed touch points and earned touch points. The earned touch points is essentially where someone is talking to potential customers about your business, so telling them about your products and services and the experience that you're delivering. So classic things there are word of mouth, social media, and again, how can you encourage some of those things in your business? So that's almost what we're advocating you do. Walk through your customer journey and just start to map out your touch points. However, what we've got to think about in doing that is our customer. You're all going to have very different customers. You're going to have different customers. We talked a bit earlier with Catherine's example of an employee where maybe some people are less adept at dealing with digital technology and the internet and all those sort of things. And you'll have some people who are really comfortable with it, and it's their preference. Everyone's different, I suppose, is the point I'm making. So the first thing we do is actually build profiles or personas of our customer base. So for an example here, we've got Nigel. Nigel's 65, is a white British man, likes to read the Daily Telegraph, listens to Radio 4. He's actually had his own business, a small furniture shop, over the past 30 years. But Nigel's now in lockdown. What's his goals? Actually, he's quite a proud man. Is our Nigel. He likes to look smart and presentable, and he looks after himself as well. He gets out daily to exercise, etc. So again, we're just building a profile of who's Nigel, and we're trying to think of Nigel as representing a group of our customers. Where will we find Nigel? Well, you'll find him, maybe walking around his village. He's having a bit of an explore of the local area because he can't get in his car and go wider afield at the moment. Always apprehensive to do so, and likes to get out on his bike as well. What does he want from you? Actually, well, you're a hairdresser, and all he wants is a haircut and a beard trim. He likes to look smart and tidy. And he likes a bit of chat and the banter that he gets when he's in the barber shop, etc. And he really dislikes being scruffy. So we're starting to build a picture of Nigel there. And just the fact that he can't get a haircut's really getting to him at the moment. So we've built his profile. Now what we want to do is really get under Nigel's skin, as it were, understand him a bit deeper, and just start to get to grips with his problems, his likes and his preferences, and how we're going to help solve Nigel's problem and move forward. So what would Nigel, what does he say? What are the words he uses? Well, I really need a haircut. Actually, he's a bit scared. And he just misses that banter. He's probably feeling a bit lonely and just wants to kind of get out there and have the barbershop banter, as it were. What's he thinking? He's looking at his wife Vera and thinking, actually, could Vera do this? Could she pull this off and actually cut my hair and leave me looking half presentable? But he's obviously a bit anxious about that. And he's also thinking, well, it won't be that long until they open, and then he looks at the news and thinks, well, will it, won't it, etc. So he's got that feeling. We've already said he likes to go on walks, occasional bike ride, likes a bit of routine. So he goes to the supermarket once a week. That's kind of part of his new routine, and actually feels a bit embarrassed by his hair. He's frustrated, lonely, a bit scared. So that's Nigel. So what I'm suggesting is that what would be really useful is if you think about your different types of customer, build a profile for them, and then what we'll do is actually use the customer journey map just to map out what we believe could be a customer journey that would adhere to social distancing rules, protocols, but would deliver Nigel's haircut and leave him looking really smart. We mentioned, would an option actually be to coach Vera? Would that be an option? Could there kind of be online courses that would deliver similar to the wine tasting that we talked about a bit earlier? There's lots of different options, and this is a creative process. Typically, what happens through this customer journey processing is typically what people we work with, and it's difficult because we're obviously used to having big canvases on the wall and post-it notes and things, but equally we can help facilitate this process online. But typically what people do, they'll map out their process and throughout that forget about Nigel. So just when you're mapping out your processes, developing new ideas, thinking actually here's all the physical touch points that we deliver, and thinking about new ideas and options and how you can use digital technology, always bring it back to Nigel. Because as we talked about earlier, some people don't like the internet, some people don't like digital technology, and we've still got to be mindful of that. If they don't like it, is there a way that we can help develop their skill, capability, or help educate them in how to use it? We just shouldn't presume because we put a digital system in place that people are going to use it and embrace it. We've got to think of it from the customer's point of view, and again, going right back to the start of the webinar, without incurring too much cost or too much disruption, what can we try? You know, where are the quick wins within all this? And also, I don't think what we're suggesting is that you can replace all the physical touch points with digital. It's about actually how do you use digital to hopefully help the flow to continue delivering a great experience. You know, servicing customers remotely, all those sort of things, and essentially get yourselves to a position where you can sell the most possible product to your customers. So that's what we're kind of suggesting would be a useful tool for you to take back to your businesses to work through, and to help develop a plan of action, how you're actually going to move forward and deal with the current situation. Simple, you know, but effective in its application. I'll say we've got digital practitioners who are also well versed in running companies and dealing with companies from a business growth perspective, who can help work through the options as well. So quite often the technology's out there. It's sometimes about figuring out what's right for your business and what would be the quickest and easiest systems to adopt. You know, again, whilst incurring the minimum cost and disruption, you know, within the business. So that's it from me. I was just conscious of time, so apologies for rushing through that bit at the end. But again, through the wider Digital Catalyst program, you know, we can pick that up and talk through the options with you. So I'll hand back over to Mark, who can talk through we'll close the session and talk through the support that's available.
Brilliant, thanks, Colin. Yeah, I was going to suggest I think rightly so. Just conscious of time, so we'll take any questions at the end. The sports event, I'm not going to labour the point really. It's just to say that the session today is clearly, you know, fairly high level. We've picked examples from lots of different sectors, and hopefully we've got you thinking about different aspects of your business. The main support through that we're able to offer is similar webinars. Some of them are a bit more topic specific, like the cyber security, things around looking at your business model and so on. But the digital catalyst assistance, which I just want to say very quickly a few words on, is very much one-to-one. So, you know, whereas today is an overview, this is very much about working with you on your business, finding out what your specific needs are, and then helping you to implement that. We have a team of digital technology specialists, some generalists, but some with very specific knowledge that between them can cover almost every eventuality. So whether it is, you know, helping to bring your team up to speed, or the specific applications around cybersecurity, accounting, or you know, consolidating operations and so on. ultimately, I guess the main message is, you know, we have no agenda in terms of which applications and technologies you should use. We really just want to find what will work best for your business. It's fully funded. There's no cost to yourselves for this advice, and we'll also look for other funding streams and so on, and other assistance to help then take your plan forward. So I'd urge you to, we will contact you to follow up on this this event, but I'd urge you to get in touch with us through either phone, email. There's a web link there as well, and we'll talk to you about happy to talk to you about the options available. The team that we've assembled are really good. They've you know, they've a lot of experience and what have you. And I guess, you know, what it does, it fast tracks you, it stops you necessarily to, you know, having to go through that trial and error period where you know, you're sort of, where we can help you get to an answer that works quickly, that sort of fits in well with the rest of your infrastructure. It doesn't just look at today, it looks to the future as well, but does it in a way that's completely objective and impartial. So do contact us. We'd be really pleased to hear from you, and very, very keen to help. So again, sort of rushed through a little bit at the end there, but yeah, obviously very much appreciate the investment in time everybody's made today, and we've enjoyed meeting with you. I hope you found it useful. I'm just going to navigate back to the questions slide
While you're doing that, Mark, can I ask a quick question? There's been a couple of questions around funding on the slide, and particularly around the ICT for growth funding pot. I think a couple of people heard that it's the pot's becoming a bit dry. Have you got an update on that, or a current picture?
Yeah, I have heard that as well. I think they've had a huge amount of demand. Not surprisingly, a lot of it I believe was around remote working and what have you, and implementing different applications, buying new hardware, and I think it was pretty flexible. So you could invest in online applications and so on as well. Yes, so I do believe that's the case currently. There are other funding streams out there which obviously we can help with, but that particular one at the moment, whilst I think they look for ways of continuing to fund it, yeah, at the moment I don't believe they're accepting any new applications. But hopefully that will change. So it is a case of watch this space, and also, you know, to speak to ourselves or speak to the Growth Hub about what else is available, because, you know, there are different streams of support available to help your businesses.
Yeah, I think Mark, just add to that. I think that there are rumblings that there'll be some funding coming down from central government potentially. You know, I've heard that in other areas, but nothing 100%. Certain, I believe at this point, but it is expected. I suppose the questions there are when and exactly where will it be applied, as it were. But I think that, you know, hopefully will be something coming on stream.
Great stuff. No, thanks, Colin. So yeah, we've obviously put the usual sort of feedback form up there. Really would appreciate your thoughts. Obviously, we hope it's been useful. We're also very keen to keep improving as well. I think probably both Colin and I have already picked up a few things we would do slightly differently. But yeah, any feedback's welcome, and also very happy to take questions as well. So please feel free, either through the chat function or just unmute yourself unmute yourself and raise a hand, and we're happy to take any questions. I did just while we're waiting for the feedback, and also any other questions, did see there's a question about Trello and Asana. I can say personally that I've been using Trello for about 4 or 5 years. We do software development, develop digital digital products, and it's dead simple. But the way we use it is in 2-week sprints. You break up different elements of your software development process that you need to deliver, and you literally deliver on each of the cards. It lends itself really nicely to software because it goes through a process of being programmed, tested by the other programmers, then we test it in-house, and then we have clients testing it. But it worked really well in terms of breaking down a project as well, and sort of prioritizing all the different actions into a backlog before then deciding which of the priority items to action, and to take them through, and just really helps with visibility, but also driving progress. I would really recommend Trello particularly. The others are great as well, but the Trello particularly has been it's transformed the way we've actually worked. So I really strongly recommend it. Some feedback from Vicky. Yeah, thanks very much for your feedback. That's great. Thanks for your time as well. Were there any other questions whilst I was presenting, Colin, going back that we need to pick up on, or were you picking those up as we went through?
No, I think we picked them up. I would say, well, one thing, there's a couple of points where different delegates have been suggesting that they could maybe help some of the other delegates. So I think that's one thing that would be maybe particularly useful after this. If there's anyone who wanted to be connected to any the other businesses, or if you want us to act as matchmaker, then we're quite happy to be the matchmaker. So just drop us a line after the webinar about that.
Great. I can see Catherine's actually responded to that, and we're certainly happy to pass on your details to Felicity. So absolutely no problem.
Yeah, I believe that'll be GDPR compliant because we got it on the message board. So you both want to be connected.
Yeah, I think we will become the Cupid of the webinar world. It could be a new direction. No, I'm very happy to do that. So that's great. I think we've probably had as many responses on the feedback as is coming in now. So thank you very much for your responses. Probably just a slight apology that we've run over just a little bit. I guess in one sense you could say value for money, but we did intend to finish by 2:30. But just a big thanks to everybody for your participation, contributions as well, which really bring this to life, sharing your experiences, and for all your questions. And obviously from me to you, Colin, thanks very much for your contributions and obviously interesting insights as well. So great, and obviously hope to see everybody next time. Thanks very much indeed.
Cheers. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe.